This weekend in Florida, the Federalist Society, I think it was in Florida, the Federalist Society is a group of lawyers who are mainly focused on constitutional law and judicial, if you will, understandings and writings. They call themselves the Federalist Society. I suppose they've taken from the Federalist Papers. They met and they invited as one of their speakers on this past weekend former Vice President Mike Pence. And Mike Pence says something that shook the world. So we're going to try to discover exactly, what's behind this and if there's anything in front of it. And I'm sure you've heard. If you're not, I'm going to let you hear from the horse's mouth himself. I ain't going to tell you what he said. They might come after me. I'll let you hear from the horse's mouth. Mr. Engineer, roll clip number, I think it's clip number 5. Yeah.
Look, I understand the disappointment many feel about the last election. I was on the ballot. And I heard this week that President Trump said I had the right to overturn the election. But President Trump is wrong. I had no right to overturn the election. The presidency belongs to the American people and the American people alone. And frankly, there is no idea more un-American than the notion that any one person could choose the American president. Under the Constitution, I had no right to change the outcome of our election. And Kamala Harris will have no right to overturn the election when we beat them in 2024.
Well, just go ahead and slap Trump. This isn't funny, and I should be making a joke out of it. Whoa, Trump is wrong. I had no right to overturn the election. Well, he's speaking the truth, but since when do we expect politicians to speak the truth? Especially something I don't know what's going on down there in Mar-a-Lago with Trump. But I tell you, one of the things so you heard it from the horse's mouth. Pastor Manning is calling Trump wrong. I didn't say it. Mike Pence himself said it. So now that the assault on the temple of democracy is an incident that is, and now that Pence has said that Trump is wrong, what was behind that? So why did he choose that moment to say it? And now what's in front of it? Is that he plans to run for president himself? Is what's in front of it? He has got some information he's going to share with the insurrection committee, or is there news about Trump's falling from the grace of the MAGA people? What I want to know, what's out in front? There's something out in front of that statement that we don't know as of yet. But I think that one of the things that, if I can just switch gears for a little bit, and that is that Fox News, which runs everything about Trump and support of Trump, didn't carry this. And CNN and the MSNBC, those two networks went to town talking about how Fox didn't cover this. And I don't know if any of these networks will be here this time next year. It just doesn't look like, it's going to happen. Even Facebook lost $38 billion last week in the market. Their stock, people aren't even dealing with Facebook anymore. It looks like it's shutting down. CNN is definitely on a last leg. MSNBC is trying to hang on by having a whole lot of Hamite people on there. But you can't sell Hamite people the kind of stuff that you need to run ads. And then, of course, it's in Fox. Anyway, Mr. Engineer, look at how CNN laments about how they, picks on Fox for not carrying this. The fact that Fox may have been afraid that if they broadcast what Mike Pence said, that Trump might come after them. Anyway, Mr. Engineer, run it.
Let's turn the page to what Mike Pence had to say on Friday. This pretty remarkable public rebuke from the former vice president, no question about it, finally saying the accurate part out loud, that Trump was wrong about him having the power to overturn the election. Our own Oliver Darcy made this very fascinating point yesterday that I picked up on. It says, per transcripts, Fox did not cover the Pence event all day yesterday, meaning Friday, and the channel's primetime shows didn't cover it Friday night either. Is Fox just terrified at this point that if they cover Pence, Trump is going to blow a gasket and tell people to watch Newsmax again? What's going on?
It's like they're terrified to tell the truth to their own audience.
Bingo.
And that's what's so extraordinary. I mean, Fair and Balanced is so far gone. I mean, it's made a mockery of itself. But the truth is, the former vice president of the United States absolutely called out the big lie, said it wasn't true, said they lost fair and square, drew a line in the sand, put himself on the other side of Donald Trump. And Fox News couldn't bother to report that to their viewers.
It says everything, Jim, right? It says it's not a news organization.
It's the whole ballgame.
Just a small Paul. The credibility of what you just said, that woman there was anyway. The fact that Fox News is keeping information that's as important as that from its audience is, it's not only dishonest, listen, Xi Jinping probably put away his rice dumplings when he heard, because Xi Jinping probably gathered with his generals and other people in the high echelon of the communist government there in Magog or in China to say there could be a major upheaval in America. We need to find out what is going on. The vice president is now ready to sell out President Trump. That could destabilize America. We need to put troops, or we need to get, or we need to look at the financial fallout. There could be financial fallout. You get the idea of what I'm saying. This is a global, worldwide. Anybody of any importance need to hear and know that. And Fox News chose not to run it. This could cause the markets to collapse. It could cause Russia to invade Ukraine now because they see that America's wholly divided. This is a mega story, and Fox believes that its audience, I don't know what you want to call them, but Fox believes we won't tell them. We won't tell our audience that the world is on fire. I can't believe that. Anyway, go ahead and sit there. Let's listen to the rest of it, because they talk about a whole lot of stuff, but I done said what's most important, but you listen to the rest of them if you want. Go ahead.
It's the whole ballgame. They're hiding from the truth. They don't want to report the news because they're afraid it might offend some portion of their audience. So they're going to pretend something objectively newsworthy didn't happen. And of course, Fair and Balanced was a lie from day one, but it shows just how deeply invested into being basically a propaganda arm of the Republican Party is that they're just going to ignore objective news because it interrupts with their narrative. Stunning what Oliver found. It's deeply telling.
Yeah, no, I think it jives with the notion that they're not necessarily a propaganda arm of the Republican Party, which they are, but a propaganda arm of the former president. And that that he has an iron grip around them, and that they're just sort of working in this symbiotic fashion. But let's talk.
It's a business model, right? It's a business model, right? And they can't afford to lose those viewers, so they can't afford to tell them the truth.
And I also found this to be deeply disturbing. Another reaction to Mike Pence came from Steve Bannon. Let's listen to that.
You're going to carry this thing eventually to your grave, okay? Because it is a mark of shame, and you are a stone-cold coward. A stone-cold coward. Boris Epstein. We're going to start with numbers and analysis, and then this thing broke this afternoon. My head's blowing up. So, Boris, you got to help me out here, brother. I can't take Pence. And I can't take Pence and Mark Short and all these Koch guys up there ratting out Trump up on Capitol Hill right now.
Because they're telling the truth to the generous.
This is, okay, all right, Steve Bannon. See, he's not a credible news source, so we don't expect him to. We can't lay any responsibility on his shoulders. But it's unconscionable and greatly irresponsible to not tell Fox News listeners what Pence said. It's just not. It's just not responsible. We are in a very bizarre time. We're in the tribulation, is what we're in. What does it mean now that Pence has said what he said about Trump? We haven't noticed any particular shift in the markets. I think that the greedy Wall Street type, I think they're still banking on trying to get richer and richer and richer. It is a piece of cheese. Wall Street, and I'll cover this when I do the inflation segment of teaching at some point in time. Wall Street is, and Wall Street investors and Americans in general are like rats looking at a piece of cheese that's attached to a string, that someone is pulling that cheese and the rats are following it. The cheese is going to go into a box that's a trap, and the rats are going to follow the cheese into the box. That's what's happening with our economy in terms of Wall Street, inflation and price. I'll come back to that, all right? But we're in the tribulation, my friend. We're definitely in the tribulation, and it's just unconscionable that a news outlet would not tell its people something as important as Vice President Pence has called Trump wrong. Now, you can interpret that as to say he's a liar. The other thing he said, he didn't just say he was wrong. But the way I read it, where a lawyer or a judge, the way I read it is that Pence is saying outright that Trump tried to overthrow the election that was recognized as duly and constitutional, and that is a crime. That is a seditious act. And I guess further digging into the process, we'll find, were there any other conspirators in what Mike Pence just said this weekend is that Trump asked him to commit a seditious act to overthrow the election, to overthrow the government. That's what he said, people. That's what the man said. So, if that's what he said, that's sedition. Who else was in on that? Who else? Because if it's a sedition, then that's 20 years in prison. And Trump himself said when he wrote in that article on Save America's statement regarding Pence could have overthrown the election, Trump himself admitted. I think, not out of this room, I think the law professor, Harvard law professor, is right. That, what more do you need? Merrick Garland to actually bring charges against Trump of sedition. What more do you need? Trump admitted it. Vice President Pence now admitted it. It's just out there as anything could be out there. I'll tell you, this is bizarre. It's the tribulation, of course, but even for the tribulation, this is a bit bizarre. Mike Pence said that Trump asked him to commit a seditious act of which he had no right to do, and he refused to do it. Well, let's see.